Are you tired of feeling left out when your friends discuss the latest gaming trends? Feeling trapped in an endless cycle of unfinished games? You're not alone. With only 7 hours per week to play for the average gamer, it's a struggle to keep up with the industry's massive, time-consuming, live service battle pass extraction RPGs. But there's a solution. Play games you can beat today. My name is Moriarty and my YouTube channel is REALLYCOOL, and I've curated a list of must-play titles that define the gaming zeitgeist. These are the titles everyone's been talking about, the ones that shaped gaming culture. And here's the most important part. For a few dollars and a few hours, you can fully experience each one today. How did I decide what games to talk about? That's important. It helps you understand why some games show up and others don't, which means less angry comments. Accessibility and impact are my guide. While iconic games like Skyrim may have left a lasting mark, who has 300 hours and $70 to spare on a remake of a game from a decade ago? I focus on titles that offer a comprehensive gaming experience without demanding hundreds of hours or a hefty price tag. Commercial success alone doesn't guarantee a spot on this list either. Take Deathloop. Despite its impressive sales and accolades, it quickly faded from the gaming community's consciousness. If you've heard this brief overview, you now already know everything you need to know about the game. Instead, we'll be focusing on titles that have stood the test of time, the ones that continue to resonate with gamers long after release. By the end of this video, you'll have a recipe for becoming a well-rounded gaming conversationalist, all without sacrificing months of your life. Whether you're a casual player looking to expand your knowledge or a hardcore enthusiast seeking to optimize your time, this video is for you. The first category is games under 4 hours, with the average being 2.5 hours. These are really quick experiences, so fast that you can almost get a full refund on Steam after beating them. Of course, you won't feel compelled to do that, since with only 2 exceptions, you can find every one of these games under $5. These are really affordable, super quick experiences, and you can pick up all 13 of them for a grand total that's less than $40. I'm not a big believer in the dollar per hour of gameplay math that a lot of people seem to do, but if you are, this is some of the most action-packed dollar per hour gameplay you can find. It's nearly impossible to overstate Street Fighter II's influence on gaming culture. It's the fighting game that all others have been compared to. Before Street Fighter, fighting games were about high scores, but after, they became all about beating other players head-to-head. As one of the best-selling games of all time, you can beat the story mode in just an hour, maybe 90 minutes if you lose a lot. Almost every mechanic in Street Fighter is still present in modern fighting games. It pioneered the competitive fight game genre, and it established so many conventions. Consider how crazy popular it has to be that 3 separate characters from the game, Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li, are all gaming icons. Ikaruga is either the best bullet hell shoot-'em-up ever made, or the most infuriating, frustrating, overly complicated, overhyped shmup ever made. In theory, you can beat this game in about 15 minutes. It's very, very short. But it's going to take you longer because, well, it's really, really hard. There is an easy mode, but you'll still probably die way more times than you expect. But if you click into it, you'll find one of the most innovative games in the genre, with challenging gameplay that rewards skill and precise timing, and one of the most debated experiences you can have. E.T. the Extraterrestrial is not a good game. It's such a bad game that it's blamed for the 1983 game crash, which caused almost the entire US game industry to collapse, amounting to over 95% of the game industry worldwide. Famously, it was so bad that Atari decided to bury all the remaining unsold copies in a landfill in New Mexico, and a whole documentary was made about finding out if that legend was true. Spoiler, it sort of was. They absolutely buried almost 1 million Atari games in the desert, but you can know what you're talking about and go play it right now in your browser because people have managed to salvage this game and make it playable. Now, if only they could do the same for MAG. Limbo, priced at just 99 cents, was part of Xbox Live Arcade's first Summer of Arcade indie promotion, which helped kickstart the entire modern indie game industry. Its iconic monochromatic art style has inspired so many indie games. It also challenged the notion that games need to be lengthy to be worthwhile. Instead, Limbo packs every moment with action and puzzles, all within a powerful presentation. With no dialogue or explicit story, the game trusts players to piece things together on their own. Widely considered one of the top indie games of all time, Limbo proves that size doesn't matter when it comes to crafting an unforgettable gaming experience. Octodad is a joke of a game filled with purposefully bad controls meant to replicate the experience of playing as an octopus trying to pass as a human. But beyond the joke, it's a genuinely well-written game with a wholesome charm that makes people fall in love with it. One of its strengths, outside of within this video's premise, is its short length, ensuring that the humor never overstays its welcome, and also so that you don't end up incredibly frustrated by its physics-based gameplay. I was very tempted to suggest playing QWOP here, but Dadliest Catch is a better version of that, though if you really love some Octodad, QWOP is sitting there waiting for you too. Inside will remind you of Limbo, and that's because it's from the same developers, who started working on it shortly after Limbo's release. Inside plays similarly to Limbo, but with refined mechanics, sharper puzzles, and a more clearly defined plot. It's evident that the developers put more thought into every aspect of the game, from start to finish. Often called the best side-scroller of all time, Inside is often also considered one of the greatest games ever made. So why not just include this instead of Limbo? Well, Limbo is the important one, so why include Inside at all? Frankly, it's just $1.99. It's easy to pick up and play right after Limbo, allowing you to appreciate the differences and improvements between the two games. Grius is perhaps best known because of the zero tolerance meme of calling it Gri, and how its watercolored logo was absolutely everywhere, from Game Pass to GOG, showing up in every Steam and Nintendo sale, just being sort of ever-present. But most people have no idea what the game actually looks like, or plays like, or what kind of genre it is, even if they know it's a game about dealing with loss and moving forward. This game shows up all the time, and it's very short, so you can easily be the person in the room who actually knows what you're talking about. You've heard the term walking simulator, and Gone Home is one of the first and most influential walking simulators. It takes all the things learned from Dear Esther and Myst and mixes it together into an intimate story that spawned hundreds of imitators. When Gone Home came out, walking simulator wasn't a genre name. It was an insult, a way to say that this thing isn't really a game. It's a walking simulator, something where the player has no agency and there's no challenges or ways to fail. But today, with entire categories of games being considered cozy games, knowing Gone Home and the beginning of the walking sim is very worthwhile. The most expensive game in this category, Untitled Goose Game, is still under the $10 mark, and also just a really enjoyable game. Perhaps you've seen the "peace was never an option" memes. They were everywhere for a while. This troublemaking goose showed up in YouTube videos, BuzzFeed articles, and memes galore. But behind all of that is a pretty interesting anti-stealth game that you can beat in just a couple hours. Mega Man X is not the easiest Mega Man, nor is it the first Mega Man, but it is the best Mega Man for someone who hasn't played any of them. It takes the classic Mega Man gameplay and adds its own flair that would become essential parts of the franchise, making X the best game for getting the best impression of the overall series. Mega Man is such a crazy popular series. There are like 50 Mega Man games, and they all change things up a little bit, but Mega Man X is easily the game that highlights the most of them, while also being incredibly good all by itself. This one is a masterpiece. It's absolutely worth playing. You can find the original online as Abandonware, or you can pick up the remastered Legacy Collection for about $20, which includes several other games in the series, such as X2, X3, and X4, though those games aren't nearly as iconic. Perhaps you've seen the Thomas Was Alone memes. While the name is certainly memeable, it ultimately only caught on because Thomas Was Alone is a fascinating game and incredibly touching. It's not a joke that many people felt huge emotional connections to these geometric shapes. It was made by Michael Bithell, who thanks to its success is now the co-host of the Play, Watch, Listen podcast with Elena Pierce, Troy Baker, and Austin Wintory. But before that, he designed levels for games like Tak and the Guardians of Gross and the iCarly game. Thomas Was Alone started as a browser game on Congregate, but its success led Bithell to partner with Bossa Studios, the creators of Surgeon Simulator, to expand it, and then it was released in 2012. It sold 1 million copies, earned 3 BAFTA nominations, winning 1, and is now considered a masterwork of video game writing, making players feel deeply connected to simple, colored shapes. And that led to a lot of memes. Super hot, super hot, super hot. If you want to understand, you gotta play the game. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times. I'm sure you've seen the meme. But there's a reason why everyone who talks about it says, you have to check out this game. It's the most innovative shooter I've played in years. And you can beat the whole thing while your laundry dries. Zork is one of the earliest, most influential text-based adventure games, pioneering interactive fiction and inspiring countless other adventure games. That's really it. It's just incredibly influential to gaming overall, being the first well-known adventure game and the first interactive fiction game. Because of Zork, people wanted to make multiplayer versions, and that led to MUDs, multi-user dungeons, which in turn led to a huge amount of early internet innovations and adoption, and eventually led to the concept of the MMORPG. Zork eventually led to World of Warcraft. The Library of Congress considers Zork number 3 on the Game Canon, a list of the 10 most important games based on cultural and historical significance, meaning Zork is officially a United States cultural artifact. Moving right along into the 4 to 8 hour long game, the average here being just over 5 hours and just over $4. Yes, as the games get longer, the prices stay pretty much the same. In fact, you can buy all of these for just about $50 on sale, or $35 if you cut out Call of Duty, which is easily the most expensive game in this segment. Press F to pay respects. Easily one of the most enduring gaming memes of all time, and it's from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. The original 3, as in 2011, not 2023, because nothing can be original anymore. And Modern Warfare 3 wasn't original either, but it was hugely impactful, a massive mega seller of a game that took the entire internet by storm, as proven by the fact that this fairly innocuous scene resulted in the letter F becoming a way of paying your condolences to someone for having something negative happen to them. And it's a fun game, a prime example of the blockbuster first-person shooter. It's action-packed and cinematic, and both the single-player and multiplayer are worth a play. Though, you may want to get some friends, since there's only about 100 people in the multiplayer anymore. If you're looking for a larger multiplayer experience, then Left 4 Dead is the right one. I'm going to recommend Left 4 Dead 2, but only because it includes Left 4 Dead 1. Yes, that's right, you buy 2 and get 1 for free, so obviously you should get 2. This is the game that famously had a unique AI game director that would dynamically adjust gameplay, a major hot topic in gaming media. It also helped popularize the idea of 4v4 asymmetric multiplayer and revived cooperative zombie shooters. It's a major title in cooperative multiplayer gaming, and it features tense, replayable missions that encourage teamwork. On the other side of the spectrum is Star Wars Battlefront 2, the 2017 version, not the 2005 version, because say it with me, nothing can be original anymore. This game is worth trying specifically because of how hated and controversial it was. Perhaps you've heard someone refer to an overabundance of microtransactions as providing a sense of pride and accomplishment, and that is from a PR response by EA over Battlefront's insanely predatory monetization. EA managed to spark widespread discussion around predatory practices with this response, and the game serves as a cautionary tale about the impact of microtransactions on game design. Max Payne was released shortly after The Matrix, and it took the bullet time that was briefly seen in the movie and made a whole game about it. In fact, when you look up bullet time today, it's going to mention The Matrix and Max Payne. Max Payne 2 is a refinement of the original, and it does it really, really well. It's a third-person shooter, but relayed through a gritty neo-noir presentation and a story that, while not incredible, is engaging and memorable, or at least engaging and memorable enough that they made a movie with Marky Mark in it. Perhaps you've heard of point-and-click adventure games. It used to be the most popular genre of game in the world, with famous publishers like LucasArts and Sierra making billions. Sam & Max Hit the Road represents a singular classic example of the genre, and it's known for its quirky humor and memorable characters. This was the first game they ever made, and while there are others, this one is short and sweet and still holds up even though it's 30 years old, giving you a chance to experience the genre with the clever puzzles and witty writing and charm of the Sam & Max franchise. Hotline Miami's neon-soaked pixelated art style and pulsing electronic soundtrack have been both widely praised and widely referenced in gaming culture. It's well known for its brutal, fast-paced gameplay and challenging, stylish, top-down shooting mechanics, with a gripping, surreal story. It offers intense, adrenaline-pumping action and a memorable aesthetic that has inspired an amazing number of things, from John Wick to the popularization of synthwave, and shown up in games from The Last of Us 2, Payday 2, and even Fall Guys. Risk of Rain is a standout example of the progressive roguelike genre, or roguelite. It's known primarily for its challenging gameplay that is both deep and rewarding, encouraging experimentation and replayability. It has a satisfying sense of progression and a unique sci-fi setting. Roguelike versus roguelite is really simple. In a roguelite, you can have some progression, new classes, new heroes, new weapons, or unlocks, currency that persists. And in roguelike, everything has to be completely fresh every run. However, Risk of Rain is the most minimal amount of progression, allowing you to see both kinds of game, sort of. Plus, it's just really good, and Risk of Rain 2 exists, even though it's a very different kind of game. Angry Birds. Let's face it, you've heard of it, you've probably seen the movie. It was a massive mobile gaming phenomenon, and its characters and art style are instantly recognizable. It spawned sequels, spin-offs, alongside media, and while it takes about 7 hours to completely finish the game, you'll understand what you're getting from it pretty quickly. It's a catapult game. pull back the slingshot, let out a bird, and watch it kill some piggies. It's a classic physics-based puzzle game, and it helped define mobile gaming with a simple but addictive gameplay that's easy to learn but challenging to master. Firewatch is another walking simulator, and certainly might have been the one people thought I should mention when I recommended Gone Home earlier. But I added it separately because of how widely praised Firewatch is by both critics and players. It too helped popularize the walking simulator genre, and it did so with a gripping character narrative that deals with mature themes. It showcases the potential of video games as a storytelling medium, and its stunning art style mixes with its emotional storytelling to create a foundational game. Peggle has the best horse in gaming. It's a popular casual game that is praised for its simple, addictive gameplay. You might notice that I use addictive repeatedly when talking about mobile games, and these are the games that prove it. Peggle resides on several best of lists for casual games, with its satisfying mechanics and charming presentation. It offers a relaxing, enjoyable experience that's perfect for short play sessions. Braid joined Xbox Live Arcade at the same time as Limbo, and it's similarly seen as one of the most distinguished critical darlings that helped establish the indie game scene. Its time manipulation mechanics and philosophical themes are still brought up by journalists and YouTubers. And it has one of the ultimate twists in gaming. It's a groundbreaking puzzle platformer that tells a thought-provoking story with multiple interpretations. I know it seems that a lot of these are indie games, and Papers, Please certainly is one as well, but that's just because indie games tend to take the most risks, and therefore generate a lot of discussion. Papers, Please generated a lot of discussion around its dystopian setting and morally ambiguous choices. Glory to Arstotzka is a common meme specifically because of how thought-provoking the simulation is, as it puts you in the shoes of an immigration officer and presents complex moral dilemmas and branching consequences. But let's stop talking about modern gaming and step back to 1996 and one of the progenitors of modern shooters, Quake. Quake pioneered 3D graphics and multiplayer gaming, coming right off the back of its predecessor, Doom. Its fast-paced gameplay and modding scene were highly influential, making Quake a landmark title in the history of first-person shooters. It has intense, skill-based gameplay and a dark atmospheric setting, and better still, it was remastered in 2021, meaning you can pick this up for a few dollars and have an incredible modern time with one of the big boys that helped make gaming what it is today. For the sake of time, I did cut a couple of games from here that I'll also recommend on screen, but I won't go into any detail. All of them are under $10 and between 4 and 8 hours, and I recommend them all. When it comes to games people talk about a lot, Nintendo is in a category of its own. Nintendo games are very popular, and the older ones get referenced a lot in just all the places. Every YouTuber, every journalist, other games, legacy media, movies, television, Nintendo is very much a part of the conversation. However, it's really hard to get a lot of Nintendo games anymore. Thanks to WATA and Heritage auctions, video games sell for millions of dollars now, and finding some of these older ones can set you back hundreds or thousands of dollars. Thankfully, Nintendo has Nintendo Switch Online, which gives you access to a lot of these games. There's 2 tiers, NSO and NSO Plus Expansion Pack, at $20 or $50 a year, respectively. For this video, I'm talking about games included in the $50 tier, but many of them are also in the $20 tier, and since that's annual, it's really affordable. It gives you access to NES, SNES, Game Boy, N64, Game Boy Advanced, and Sega Genesis games, which is a lot of early content that people still talk about today. On average, these games are just about 4.5 hours long, with one very long exception that technically doesn't count for this video, but, well, it's worth playing, since it's free even if you only play it for a few hours. Starting off is Battletoads in Battle Maniacs, a challenging beat-em-up with unique and varied gameplay mechanics. This is the peak of the Battletoads series, and showcases the genre's popularity and its strengths, especially in the early 90s. Battletoads is known for its over-the-top humor, style, and colorful characters, and Battle Maniacs is a prime example of that. However, none of that is why anyone knows this game. Instead, it's notorious amongst retro gaming enthusiasts thanks to the Turbo Tunnel level. This level, yes, literally just a single level, is popular amongst Let's Players, Rage Quit videos, and memes, and it's often called one of the hardest games ever made thanks to this brutal challenge. And to be very clear, it really is stupidly hard. While this game will only take you about 90 minutes to complete, it may be closer to a couple hours depending on how long it takes you to beat the third level of the game. Super Mario Bros., you already know, is one of the most influential games of all time, with maybe the most iconic video game character. It helped popularize the side-scrolling platformer, and it established Nintendo as a gaming powerhouse. It is absolutely a landmark title that revolutionized the gaming industry, and its impact really can't be overstated. That being said, there's really not much to say about it outside of its impact, and realistically, you've already played it, but if you haven't, it's an important foundational experience.
Do a barrel roll!
Do a barrel roll. This meme is so popular that if you type "do a barrel roll" into Google, it spins the website around. It's a meme and a catchphrase, a joke you've maybe repeated without ever actually playing the game, which is Star Fox 64. It's a classic rail shooter with tight controls and impressive 3D graphics for the N64 era, and it includes voice acting, including that memorable line spoken by Peppy Hare. This is a really fun fact, because a lot of people think it's Slippy Toad that says it, but no, Slippy just has a very judgmental face. In the era of the console wars, there was a period of time where Nintendo and Sega were fighting over video game mascots, and that's where Sonic the Hedgehog came from. Sonic 2 is the game that introduces Sonic's sidekick, Tails, who is orange. Sonic 2 is also one of the best entries from the classic Sonic series, with faster, more polished gameplay, colorful levels, and a catchy soundtrack. For a lot of people, when they talk about Sonic, this is the Sonic they're talking about. The other Sonic they might mean is Sonic Adventure 2, which is about 20 hours comparatively. So if you really want to fall down that rabbit hole of Sonic fandom, this is the right place to start. Boy, everyone says they want a new F-Zero game, don't they? And Nintendo did sort of deliver with F-Zero 99, but that game is 99% bots now, so instead you can try out the original, which was one of the launch titles for the Super NES and a pioneer in the futuristic racing genre. It may be hard to comprehend now, but this was a groundbreaking title that demonstrated the sheer power of the SNES and its impressive graphics. The setting, the characters, and of course the racing action have today made F-Zero a cult classic, and you can experience the origins of it in about 3 hours. And then you too can be complaining about how there's not been a new F-Zero for 20 years. Donkey Kong Country is one of the only games to ever have a water level that doesn't suck. Usually, seeing that pale blue filter over the screen means you're in for a bad time. But in El Congo Donko, it may even become one of your favorite levels, music included. And of course, outside of the water, it's a challenging, well-designed platformer with tons of secrets and replay value. It made a huge splash when it was released thanks to its impressive pre-rendered 3D graphics, which even today give it a distinct visual style and set it apart from other platformers. And its success breathed new life into the DK franchise and introduced memorable characters like Diddy Kong and King K. Rool. People love to talk about Metroidvanias. I even do it in my video about Outer Wilds. But where does that come from? And as you might infer from the name, it comes from Metroid. At least the Metroid part of the name does. And Super Metroid is the game that popularized the genre, widely considered one of the greatest video games ever made and one of my personal favorites. It's really good. It's atmospheric, immersive, and encourages exploration and experimentation. The soundtrack, detailed artwork, and clever boss battles create an unforgettable experience. It's a perfect blend of exploration, atmosphere, and gameplay, and it inspired countless games in its wake. Playing Super Metroid is a must for anyone interested in understanding the roots of modern game design and experiencing a true classic that still holds up today. GoldenEye 007 was a game changer when it was released, proving that first-person shooters could be just as successful on consoles as they were on PCs. Its split-screen multiplayer mode was a revelation, offering hours of competitive fun and becoming a staple of dorm rooms and living rooms around the world. Its single-player campaign was faithful to the film, and frankly, it's hard to find a game that is the subject of more nostalgia-fueled videos and conversations. If you can jump into the multiplayer, be sure to play against someone who picks Oddjob, so you can understand why everyone hates this character so much. Banjo-Kazooie is basically synonymous with collectathon platformers. It wasn't the first collectathon, but it's widely considered to be one of the best. Even today, after games like Yooka-Laylee, A Hat in Time, or Super Mario Odyssey, Banjo still holds a place in a lot of people's hearts as the best there ever was. It's colorful and quirky, and so popularly requested that even Smash Bros. Ultimate made a joke about it. Considering the last traditional Banjo game was in 2000, it's probable that most people only know about it from Smash, which is sad. This is a very worthwhile game. It's charming, and it has excellent music and a vibrant world. It is one of the longer games, taking almost 12 hours to beat, but give it a try and you may just become one of those fans wishing Microsoft would finally release the new game they've been talking about for 14 years. Super Mario 64 revolutionized 3D platformers with its open-ended level design and camera control, and it's widely considered one of the greatest and most influential games of all time. It was also the first collectathon, and it really offers a perfect balance of exploration, challenge, and creativity. It was a genuine trailblazer, not just for the platformer genre, but for 3D gaming as a whole. It introduced concepts like a freely controllable camera and open-ended explorable levels, and its gameplay, visuals, and secret-packed worlds have made it a classic. And finally, in the Nintendo category here is Earthbound. This is a bit of a stretch, I know. It's actually not a game you can beat in a day, unless we really extend the definition, because it takes about 24 hours to beat. Longer if you don't mainline the story. However, I included it here because it's really just so talked about, and it's included in the Nintendo Switch Online. This is a really wildly popular game today, which is funny because when it came out, it was considered a weird flop, and only after YouTubers started talking about it did it become popular again. It launched for $69.96 in 1995, over $140 in today's money, and was marketed with scratch and sniff fart smell. Its failure caused Nintendo to become hesitant about marketing their lesser-known games in the United States, leading to a much more conservative Nintendo. But it was so popular with such a small group of very influential people that just kept talking about it for years, and suddenly it's available and considered one of the staple brands. None of that even starts to scratch and sniff the gameplay itself. Earthbound is charming and offbeat. It subverts tropes, and it has a genuine heartfelt story. It's satirical and modern, and a one-of-a-kind RPG with a quirky take on American culture. In my second to last chapter, but final category of games that can be completed today, I have the more extreme category of 8 to 12 hour games. These are the longest games I feel you could realistically complete in a single day. They still trend towards the shorter end of that, an average of just over 9.5 hours, and with an average cost of about $5. You can pick them all up for under $60 total. Halo is one of the most important game series ever created. It changed the way we think of video games. It completely rewrote everything from top to bottom. And it's really hard to narrow down to a single thing. You've heard of Halo, and maybe you wanted to try it out but weren't sure which one. I'm going to recommend Halo 3 here, because it's arguable that this was the biggest Halo game. It defined the Xbox 360 era and the Halo franchise itself. It was a critical and commercial success, and its marketing campaign, including the Believe commercial, was wildly effective and is even popular today. It's pretty much considered the perfect video game commercial. This game spawned innumerable YouTube videos and memes, and it's really fun. It's just a great game to go play. And you can even do this one from start to finish completely co-op, which is just a great experience. Gears of War is another Xbox flagship franchise, but this one takes itself a little more seriously. Yes, the seriously achievement is something of legend and lore, requiring 10,000 player kills in Versus Ranked in Gears of War 1 and 100,000 enemies killed in Gears of War 2. This, plus the chainsaw melee gun, have crossed into our psyches one waist-high wall at a time. Gears of War 2 is the one worth playing, however, simply because it's just so much more polished and enjoyable. It builds on the successes of the original, but delivers a more intense and cinematic experience. The visceral and satisfying gunplay is worth it alone, though I wasn't joking about the waist-high walls. Gears became something of a running joke because you always know when you enter a new fight, because suddenly it opens up and there's just waist-high walls everywhere. GLaDOS, Potato Birds, Repulsion Gel, Wheatley, Weighted Companion Cubes, The Cake is a Lie. There's so many pop culture moments that come from the Portal series. You've maybe heard the songs. They're all incredible.
I'm making a note here, huge success.
This is one of the most enjoyable stories and lore and just gameplay in general from anything I've ever played. Portal 2 is a refinement of the masterpiece that is Portal 1, filled with witty and sarcastic dialogue and creative puzzle-solving mechanics and physics-based gameplay. It's funny and heartwarming and smart and snarky, and there's a reason why so many things from this series became memes, and people were willing to tattoo it on themselves, and how blue and orange portals are just understood now. There's a guy currently quoting Cave Johnson's Lemon Rant to his friends, and they think he's original and quirky instead of being the guy quoting J.K. Simmons being original and quirky. And it's your duty to be the one to call him out, or alternatively become that guy. Would you kindly consider playing BioShock? I would rate this right up there with No, I Am Your Father in terms of media twists that just blew everyone's minds. If you don't know the twist, you have somehow managed to be one of the few people on the planet who isn't spoiled, and I'm not going to be the one who spoils you. Let's just say that this is an amazing subversion of player expectations. Rapture is the star of the game here, and it's so well done that you really just need to try it out. This is right at the top end of the category at 12 hours, but it's such an enjoyable experience on top of how it provokes discussion about objectivism and player agency, both lampooning and lampshading and delivering an engrossing cinematic experience while challenging the player's preconceptions. It's probably the most analyzed video game. There's got to be 500,000 video essays about it out there. And after playing it, you'll be able to decide if it earns its reputation as a game with depth and meaning beyond its gameplay. Doom is the most influential game of all time. It's a masterclass in design. It's fast, it's brutal, it's relentless, but more than that, it's smart. It pushed the boundaries of technology with its engine. It pioneered the concept of online multiplayer and modding and had a profound impact on the gaming industry. It was so popular that it was the #1 cause of decreased productivity in businesses around the world. It's an essential part of gaming history, and without it, boy, the entire gaming space would be completely different. It's rare you can say that about any single game, but Doom is the game you can definitely point to. And you can play it on anything: a toaster, pregnancy tests. There was even someone who figured out that you could use soldier crabs in organic logic gates, and with only 16,039,018,500 crabs, you'd be able to play Doom. It's maybe the game ported to the most things, simply because you can play it on potatoes and an IKEA lamp. For the longest time, first-person shooters didn't have that genre name. They were called Doom clones. I guarantee you can find a way to play this game today. Metal Gear Solid is what led Hideo Kojima to be considered a pioneer and auteur. It's a seminal work in the action-adventure genre that pioneered the use of cinematic storytelling and stealth mechanics in video games. Its deep narrative and intriguing characters make it a must-play, especially for anyone interested in the evolution of game design. Plus, the characters are so well-known and so beloved that they show up in everything, even Fortnite. If you want to know why people are willing to watch a 71-minute-long cutscene in Metal Gear Solid 4, this is where you start. I'm not going to suggest that Alone in the Dark holds up particularly well. It is antiquated. However, it pioneered many conventions in the survival horror genre, from limited resources to intense exploration, and a focus on atmosphere and tension over action. It was innovative and immersed players in a creepy, supernatural environment that influenced countless horror games afterwards. So yes, it's one of the earliest examples, but it's also one of the most influential, paving the way for future classics like Resident Evil or Silent Hill. Playing Alone in the Dark offers a glimpse into the origins of survival horror, and for less than $1, you can gain appreciation for the genre's pioneers. I know, all of these games are super influential. The past several have just been, this game was wildly influential, and so is this one, and so is this one. And I'm almost done. But there's one more that we need to include on this list of really influential games that you can beat today, and that's Half-Life. Half-Life set new standards for immersive cinematic gameplay. It holds up remarkably well, so well that its remake, Black Mesa, changes almost nothing of significant substance for the first 80% of the game. The design and world building is just so good that slapping some modern level design tricks on top makes it a whole new fresh game all over again. When it came out, having cutscenes was all the rage, but Half-Life innovated and revolutionized by seamlessly integrating gameplay and narrative using environmental cues, minimalist dialogue, and scripted events that made the player part of the action, instead of pulling control away from you and making you passively watch something in a cutscene. The sequel is really good as well, and of course, Half-Life 3 is the perfect way to end the trilogy and absolutely worth playing. Amnesia is the game every YouTuber was screaming at for several years. It's really important that you play the first one, The Dark Descent, since I don't think any other game franchise has more successfully ruined its own reputation than Amnesia did with its sequels. But that first game, that is a time. It relies on psychological tension and player agency to create a truly terrifying experience, demonstrating how effectively a game can unsettle and immerse players through its design choices. The emphasis on player vulnerability has made it a popular subject for Let's Plays and horror streamers, and players are captivated by its ability to truly unsettle you. Amnesia rewrote how horror games are played, demonstrating that they can effectively create a sense of dread and helplessness through thoughtful design choices rather than relying on cheap jump scares. Heavy rain is a meme. Press X to Jason. Or screaming Sean into your kid's face over and over again are things you've seen all over. And yet, the game itself has basically fallen out of favor. It sold 5 million copies and had a 74% completion rate, which is wild. Absolutely mind-bogglingly high, one of the most completed games of all time. But it's not good. Its controls are sort of wonky, the dialogue is off, and it's full of plot holes. Just one of the weakest narratives in gaming. But people really liked it. They liked it so much. It's really affordable nowadays, and you can play it on PC, though that means you'd have to E to Jason instead, which doesn't quite hit as hard. I'm going to guess that if you haven't played Binding of Isaac, you've still seen some wild gameplay in a montage or in the background of a video, or maybe you've seen a streamer playing it, because boy, this game just lends itself to wild fan art and crazy moments. It's a cult classic and one that you can pick up for just over $1. It's a roguelite that captivated players with its premise and its unforgiving gameplay, plus the twisted narrative about a young boy fleeing his mother's religious fanaticism. It's memorable and thought-provoking. Plus, the procedural generation has made it super popular with speedrunners and roguelite enthusiasts, who are drawn to its blend of action, RPG, and random level generation. Thanks to its success, it managed to influence the entire roguelite genre, demonstrating the medium's potential for tackling mature, unconventional subject matter. Plus, the action is just so fascinating to watch. There's no chance I play DMX in this video. I'm not trying to get copyright claimed, but boy oh boy is having X gon' give it to you as the proximity sound for Mr. X in the Resident Evil 2 remake, one of the best moments in video game history. On top of the excellent cosplays, fan arts, and stream content this game has provided, it's also just a really solid game itself. It's a masterful remake that updates the classic survival horror experience for modern audiences, giving it a tense atmosphere and challenging gameplay that appeals to both veterans and newcomers. It's a well-regarded example of how to revive a beloved franchise while maintaining the essence of the original. Celeste is brought up in discussions more than just about any game I can think of in the past several years. Its challenging, precision-based platforming is half the reason, and its narrative about mental health and personal growth is the other half. It's won numerous awards and critical acclaim, and seems to be everyone's go-to for indie games with an emotional story. This is also probably the game that, if you were to play every other game in this video, well, Celeste might drive you to quit. It's really difficult, but it delivers an emotionally resonant story alongside the skill-based challenges, and people really dig the soundtrack too, with its own dedicated following. People just, vibe with it, man. Similar to before, here's a quick and dirty list of other 8 to 12 hour games that are very affordable and worth a try, but which I won't go into detail about. My final category of games here is sort of similar to the Earthbound recommendation earlier. These are games that are unequivocally longer than a day to beat, but with a caveat. These are games that I don't think you actually need to beat in order to experience enough of them that it's worthwhile. You could play for a couple hours and have experienced the entire gameplay loop, and then jump out and have enough of an experience that you could talk knowledgeably about them. And they are talked about, so it's worth doing. The fact that I mentioned Skyrim at the beginning of this video and used it as an example of a game everyone talks about shows how influential it is, so of course it's got to be at least mentioned. It'll only take you about an hour to hear your first arrow to the knee line from one of the guards in Skyrim. It's such a common line in the game that it became its own pop culture reference, right alongside Fus Ro Da. But beside that, it's also a massive open-world RPG with unparalleled freedom and depth, allowing you to immerse yourself in a richly detailed fantasy world. It's one of the most successful mainstream games of the modern era. It's generated so many memorable, shareable moments with viral gameplay and emergent stories in its intricate world. While everyone dunks on it getting a 10th special edition re-release every 6 months, the fact fact is that it wouldn't be re-released if it wasn't wildly popular and successful, and it's worth trying it out just to get smacked by a giant into outer space. GTA 5 is the most successful media property of all time. It's bigger than any movie, any book, any television show, anything. Now, to be clear, it's not the biggest media franchise, that goes to Pokemon, but it is the single biggest piece of media. Remember when Avengers and Avatar were battling it out to see which one would cross $2.5 billion first? Well, GTA 5 crossed $8.5 billion. It outsells the Bible every year. It's wild. Its controversial depictions of violence and satire of American culture have been widely discussed and debated. Its massive commercial success and ongoing popularity have made it a subject of numerous news reports and social media discussions. There's a reason why GTA 6 has so far taken 12 years and $2 billion in development costs, and it's not even released yet. If GTA 6 releases at $250 retail, people will save up for months to buy it, and they'll probably think it's worth the price. It's a lightning rod for controversy and discussion, but also a landmark open-world action-adventure game that set new standards for production values, narrative depth, and player freedom. Its influence is undeniable, and if you've never played it, this is a game you should have an opinion on. Minecraft is one of the biggest games ever. It's just so incredibly big. With over 300 million copies sold, it is the best-selling video game of all time. And yet, it's so simple and addictive. It's a game that isn't really about anything, and the closest thing I can compare it to is a giant bucket of Legos. You just build whatever you want. Your imagination is the limit. I've had a world where I've been building with close friends for years now, and it's something that fills me with peace and comfort, just going in and remembering things we've built together. In terms of content, Minecraft is the most viewed video game on YouTube, with trillions of views and tens of thousands of active Minecraft channels from every country on the planet. It's a legitimate gaming phenomenon, and yet there's still a huge number of people who have never played or refuse to do so for whatever reason. I am still shocked when I talk to someone and they say they've never played it. I can't fathom it. It's hard to believe someone can truly love gaming and never have played the biggest one in the world. Because it is so big and so popular, it's also never on sale. So its base price of $29.99 is the cost of admission. But considering that the average person puts in 250 hours, it's really affordable for the content. Borderlands 2 is weirdly popular. It's one of a very select number of games that has managed to reach outside of gaming culture to become true pop culture, reaching people who have never touched a video game, similar to Call of Duty. It's bigger than the hobby, which is very strange to me. It's a good game, totally valid, but it's the little things. The fact that you have forgiving aim and funky weapons, and the ability to pick yourself up or be picked up if you die and keep playing. It takes player-friendly concepts from MMOs like loot rarity, but also more hardcore things like boss raids. It has incredible co-op, but you can play it solo and have a great experience. The DLC is very thorough and fleshed out, representing dozens of hours of content in a world where DLC often means cosmetics. This is a game you can drop 150 hours into and still have things to do and still be having fun doing it. And you can do all of that with 3 other friends for less than $20. People will debate on whether The Sims 2 or The Sims 3 is the best Sims game, but they all agree that The Sims 4 is not. So I chose The Sims 3 because it's ever so slightly easier to mod for the average person. Of course, the average Sims player is obsessive and dedicated, so perhaps that was a bad reasoning, but here we are. The Sims has open-ended sandbox-style gameplay where you control virtual lives. It's popular enough that just Throwing a green rhombus above somebody's head signals to people that they are being played in a video game. There are channels, large YouTube channels with way more subscribers than I will ever have, that exist exclusively to make soap opera level dramas about the characters in their Sims world. And these videos get millions of views. They are massively successful. Whether you want to just build incredible looking homes or have truly just the most extravagant soap opera storylines, The Sims is something to behold. And there, a curated list of must-play games that you can beat today. From meme-worthy moments to groundbreaking mechanics, by just dedicating a few hours, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the medium's evolution and be better equipped to join in on the gaming discourse. A huge thank you to each and every one of my patrons for their continued support. Your contributions make videos like this possible. If you'd like to watch another video, one is on the screen right now, and I'll see you on the next one.